There's absolutely a burden on the Nepali student to do some research and understand all the implications of studying abroad. The biggest mistake I see students make globally, not just in Nepal, is they don't do enough research into their future career path. They tend to pick a degree and figure it out when they're already in the new country. In financial services, if we lie or mislead, the US government finds us or shuts us down. We are not actually allowed to lie or mislead students in the financial services industry in the United States. Whatever your first annual salary is going to be, that's how much debt you can probably pay off over 10 years. You have done the work, submitted 10 job applications a day, have gone networking throughout your college and met lots of employers, and you still don't land a job. You know, maybe the university didn't prepare you well. Does university have an international career office? That's really what you're looking for in a university. They will help you make sure your skills are up to date in order to get that job.
Hello and welcome to NTV World Insight. In recent years, Nepal has seen a massive surge in number of students pursuing higher education abroad. But this exodus comes also with a dark side. Rising reports of unverified counseling, predatory practices and education fraud as well. Students are taking on immense financial burdens, but is the return on investment actually there? Today we are joined by Almand. She's with the MPOWER Financing, an international student loan provider. Over the next half hour, the realities of international student debt, the ethics of study abroad industry, and what's really at stake for our youth is on the table for discussion. Claire, welcome to NTV World Insight.
Great to be here, thank you.
Could you please tell us a little about yourself, where you come from, and how often do you do back and forth in Nepal?
Yeah, so I'm from United States. I'm based in Washington, D.C., and I've been working over the past 15 years across human behavior, technology, and of course, digital marketing. And then I've been with MPOWER Financing the past 9 years. I work in India half the year and the United States half the year. And more recently, this is my 4th visit to Nepal, and I'm having just a lovely time.
Let's just begin with the reality that
Sure.
we are seeing of the industry at the moment. There's a lot of misinformation
Yes.
and unverified counseling practices that we've seen, with many instances of students who have gone abroad for international studies. You are here on the occasion of an event.
Yes.
And it, I believe, aims to raise awareness about this very misinformation and unverified practices. Do you think there's a burden of vigilance on the student itself? And what regulatory or systemic change do you think is necessary for Nepal within the industry itself, if there are any predatory practices as such that you have seen?
Yeah, so for the first question, there's absolutely a burden on the Nepali student to do some research and understand all the implications of studying abroad. The biggest mistake I see students make globally, not just in Nepal, is they don't do enough research into their future career path. They tend to pick a degree and figure it out when they're already in the new country. And so, you know, if people were to take one message away, it's look up the career you want to do and then figure out the best way to get there. And only you can decide that's the right path, no one else. For the second question about regulation, there is a certification from the US government that an organization can get to show the US government agrees with the practices of a consultant. And this is global, not just for Nepal. So if more consultants were accredited and were verified by a regulatory body, that would be so much better, because you don't always know where the advisor is, what their interests are. Sometimes they're paid by the school, sometimes they're paid by other people. You want to make sure whoever is advising you has your best interests at heart. And so for the average student or average parent who is interested in exploring studying abroad, it's really important to understand if they listen to your feedback and listen to the word no. If they keep pushing an option on you, it might not be a good fit overall for you. But just to summarize, yes, I think regulation would be great. There is an accreditation you can get today, and there is a burden on the student to do some research to make sure that this big decision makes sense for them.
It's definitely a collective effort.
Yes.
Your company provides financing for international students, and this event that we have just seen focuses heavily on educational loans. Many students from South Asia take on high interest debt to study abroad, especially in North America. So given the current global economy, is the financial return on investment of a US or a Canadian degree worth it?
I know students don't always want to hear this, but in some fields it makes sense, and in others it does not. And the key thing to look for are in what industries and in what types of professions is the growth rate increasing. And right now at MPOWER, we see that healthcare, business, finance, analytics, and of course STEM degrees still have a huge return on investment because the salaries are high, you learn a lot, and of course you're still being hired. But if you're considering something such as social science, humanities, the ROI really does not make sense typically. You're not going to earn enough to pay back a lender, and that puts you in a really tough bind once you're in the new country. No one will hire you, and even if you're hired, the salary isn't going to give you the ROI that you're really looking for. So once again, I think MBAs are still strong, Masters of Finance strong, STEM degrees strong, and healthcare strong. I would avoid other fields and disciplines.
To avoid the financial trap?
To avoid the financial trap for sure. You know, at MPOWER, we consider ourselves an ethical lender. We don't want to fund programs where students can't pay us back. It's bad for the student and bad for us, which is why we only support programs and disciplines where we see that strong ROI. It's best for the student and best for us as well.
Tell us in detail, because we hope there are students and their parents as well listening to us right now, the design of your program that is relevant to them.
So we only support 500 schools in the US and Canada. There are over 5,000 schools, so typically parents and students want to know, why don't we fund all of them? We look at the data. If a school is helping a student graduate, they can pay back the loan, a low default rate, and the student is getting placed and getting a job, we fund those programs. If we get data showing that a student or a school is not meeting that obligation, we actually remove it from our school list. So even if you're not an MPOWER customer, you can use our data and look at our school list to make sure you're going to a program where people like you are getting jobs. You are seeing that ROI. So that's part of the key part of what MPOWER does to ensure we see an ROI, and so does the student. But there are a few other things. It's a volatile environment out there, and so our loans are originated in the United States and paid directly to your school. So not only do you have to not worry, there's no foreign exchange, no money leaving the country, and it reduces the fees for the parent and for the student. So it's quite simple. And of course, because we have that direct relationship with your school, we also have that credibility and reputation with your school to where you know you're working with an honest provider versus maybe someone that's not recognized by the local industry, essentially, in the US and Canada.
Say, for example, I am a student interested in going abroad. How can I reach out to you, and what can I reach out to you for? Also talk about the number of students that you have the capacity to finance, the amount, of course, and how is it going to look like for the next 5 years or so?
Yeah, so going in order, if a student wants to work with us, if you just want to do it on your own without us involved, you can. You go to our website, MPOWERfinancing.com. You can check your eligibility. It takes a few minutes. If you are eligible, you'll be prompted to finish the fully online application. So once again, there's no middle person involved. You can do everything with your parent on your own if you'd like. And of course, if you want to work with our local partner, we have them as well, but it's fully up to the student if they want to bring in someone to help or do it on their own. In terms of the actual loan, you can get up to $100,000 USD. And so that covers most programs. There are a few programs that are more expensive, and we typically don't advise it if you don't come from strong means, just because, once again, you mentioned that debt trap. You might not make enough money for that to make sense. So $100,000 is what most students can pay off. So far, over the last 12 years, we've funded 25,000 students globally. We're able to double that. So there is no danger of us not having the money for Nepali students. And over the next 5 years, we would like to double. And we would like to see how many Nepali students we can help. We're different than your average lender. Most lenders are looking to make some money. We are too, but we're also a public benefit corporation. That means we need to help people. And what we do is we advise at admissions. You can look at our school list. We have resources in the event we just had, for example, to give people the information to plan correctly. Then comes funding. We issue a visa support letter, so you can take this letter to your visa interview, whether it's the United States or the application for Canada. We also have a course to make sure you understand the visa process and the implications as well. Next, once you're in the new country, we have a boot camp to make sure that you are doing the right things to land your first internship and make sure you're actually prepared to get a job. And then last, we have a career accelerator program. This program helps you do the right things to get hired. What we want is we want you to have a job before you graduate. So you're not stressed, you have that confidence, and of course, you're ready just to move forward into the world in your bright new future. Okay. Last, we hope most of our students, they report that they want to come home after a few years, take the global experience, really learn from their classmates, take some new knowledge. And in about 5 years, a lot of students say, I want to come home. I don't want to leave my family. And we hope our students come back to the original country to make their country just a better place. And so most of our students report that being a quite lovely experience as well, bringing that knowledge home.
Mm-hmm. Two very short questions. What are the criteria to be eligible for the loan? Mm-hmm. And then who is it applicable for? Undergrad, postgraduate students?
Great question. So 3 things to be eligible. You need to attend a program that's 30 months or shorter. Most programs for masters, for example, are 2 years. We don't work with a 4-year bachelor's, so 30 months or shorter. The next requirement is that you are going to one of our 500 schools, which I mentioned earlier, the schools with strong ROI. The last requirement is you need to be admitted into school. A lot of students come to us just a little bit too early. They don't have that admit. We're unable to approve your application if you haven't been admitted quite yet. So that was eligibility. In terms of who we mostly work with, it is mostly master's students that are doing 2-year degrees in the United States and Canada. These degrees are the high ROI degrees, which are STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, healthcare, or finance and business. These courses are our sweet spot because we see students with sort of making the money they need to make the whole journey make sense.
You also have a background in digital marketing as a
do.
strategist, so you know exactly how narratives are shaped. How do you think the international education sector, including universities and lenders, ensure it is ethically marketing to the students in developing countries like ours without exploiting their interest or desperation for a better future?
I love this question because I'm very passionate about ethical marketing. It is not in our interest to mislead people, and further, we like law in the United States, we're highly regulated. So just as a base point, in financial services, if we lie or mislead, the US government fines us or shuts us down. We are not actually allowed to lie or mislead students in the financial services industry in the United States. So one of the benefits of going with a US lender is we are held to an extremely high standard by the US government, else they typically fine, and if you continue being a bad actor, they do close you, and many lenders have been closed in the past due to these practices. On the university side, it's a little bit different. It makes sense for you to do your research and make sure you're going to a university that's very esteemed. The universities that aren't ethical tend to be the lower ranked universities, the for-profit universities, where they're really trying to just put students in seats. They don't really care about who you are. They're not doing things in the correct way for you. They want to make some money. So if you're going to the middle to high tier universities, they actually don't need to do a lot of marketing typically because they are so esteemed. So if you're considering a lower ranked university, I highly advise you to reconsider. That university is not going to prepare you for the job market, and they may not have your best interests at heart. So ultimately, look at US News rankings. It actually can show you which universities are the ethical universities that are really going to help you.
I'm pretty sure, have interacted with many parents. What do you think is the most brutal financial reality check that Nepali parents need to hear before they apply for loans and send their homes or for mortgages?
One of the best things about MPOWER is we are no guarantor, no collateral loan. And it's because you may have worked years or maybe have had this house in your family for generations, or you've recently acquired it. The stress on your child to go abroad and have the house at risk for their family. The parent doesn't want their child to have that stress. The parent probably doesn't want that same stress. And so there's an option where you don't actually need to put your house at jeopardy. And so, the main reason MPOWER was founded is our co-founders had this issue. They didn't have collateral. They didn't have a cosigner or a guarantor. And they thought how terrible it is that these families are making these really tough decisions, my house or my child. And so that's where MPOWER came about, in order so people don't have to have this conversation. The student can go abroad without that stress that that house isn't on the line when they're studying abroad. It's just their own potential, which is really empowering.
So moving abroad can be mentally heavy
Yes.
on the students because it's a different place, different culture, away from their family. How do you think universities and financial institutions are incorporating this mental health aspect for the international students?
Yeah. So for universities, this is a place to do some research. Good universities offer free mental health services. Less great universities do not. So check. That's just a simple answer. Whether you're American or international student, studying is hard. School, if you're doing it right, is hard. You're there to change and learn. So there's no shame of availing mental health services while you're in school. There is an obligation for lenders as well. It is our job to make sure we're not giving students unsustainable debt. So what we do is we put the students' information in our algorithm. It tells us exactly how much they can pay off over 10 years with their chosen career. You want a lender who's doing something like that. Any lender that gives you everything you want, gives you way too much debt at any school, that is the stress you're trying to avoid. And so with a lender like MPOWER or similar ethical lender, who might apply for, let's say, $100,000, we might give you $80,000 because that's how much we know you can pay off. You should listen to that guidance and not necessarily try to find more money. I would say for parents and students, a lot of times they want to know, how much money should I borrow? Quick rule of thumb, whatever your first annual salary is going to be, that's how much debt you can probably pay off over 10 years. So if you have a $80,000 first annual salary, you shouldn't take out a loan that's greater than $80,000. And so this rule stops students from taking on too much debt and running into problems later on where they can't pay us back or pay a lender back.
But that's if it is guaranteed that they will have the job.
Good question, yeah. So one of the reasons we only fund certain degrees in certain schools is because these students are getting jobs. We actually have a lot of students argue with us. Why not my psychology program? Why not this English program? It does not make sense. I know it's a tough reality. And so we actually have an extremely low default rate, almost 1%, because our students are getting jobs in these fields. I won't lie, study abroad is hard. If you're looking for an easy route, it may not make sense for you. But if you're a hard-working person, you're willing to put the hours in, you understand that it's gonna be a new culture and you're ready to experience what that's like. It can make sense, but you need to do the research on the career path, make sure it's in a growing industry, make sure the ROI is there. Ultimately, the US degree can open up many pathways for you globally. Our students that have decided to go home for personal reasons have actually been able to pay us back just as well because the degree opens up so many doors, not just in the US, but actually around the world, even back in their home country.
How many students have benefited from MPOWER in Nepal so far, and what's your target like for the next 5 years or so?
Yeah, so far it's a low number to around 100. We're hoping to make that closer to 1,000 within the next few years. We see a lot of potential in Nepal. When I speak to students directly, they actually sometimes know many of the things I've said. They're looking for tech degrees. They're interested in nursing. A lot of them actually do want to come home. They don't want to leave their families. And so I'm just so inspired by the hardworking students I've met. And so I'm very confident over the next few years with the right guidance, students will make the right choice and choose professions and degrees that make sense.
When maybe students graduate and fail to secure a job, which is low in your case, as you say, who do you think would be accountable, the student themselves or the universities that take them?
It's hard to say because I think this is where context matters. If you have done the work, submitted 10 job applications a day, have gone networking throughout your college and met lots of employers, and you still don't land a job, you know, maybe the university didn't prepare you well. But if you just studied, you didn't go meet future employers, put yourself out there, you only applied for 3 jobs, the student needs to take a little bit more ownership over their future career. Like I said, it's not easy. You need to put the work in. But for the students that are willing to spend 3 hours a day applying for work, they must always secure internships before the end of their first year and secure jobs. So the hard working part really matters. Good universities also have strong career centers. So another place to research, does university have an international career office? That's really what you're looking for in a university. They will help you make sure your skills are up to date in order to get that job.
There's a lot of geopolitical volatility at the moment, across the world in fact, and some countries like Canada have also put a cap on international students. Do you think students from countries like Nepal should explore other alternatives?
It really depends on the profession you're looking for and how, like I mentioned earlier, how hard you're willing to work to get a job. It all comes back to careers. The degree is just a stepping stone to get there, and so research Australia and the job opportunities there, research Canada and the job opportunities there. Same thing in the United States and any other country. You need to look for a career that makes sense in that country. Every country's different, and so if you're trying to figure out, if this is really confusing, how do I figure out if a country makes sense or not? Find someone like you on LinkedIn 10 years in the future and ask them if it's worth it. They're going to tell you honestly, they're from the same country as you, they'll be able to tell you if that really makes sense. And so for Canada and the United States, I know the news is pretty crazy. When I'm in India, when I'm in Nepal and I see the news back home, I'm actually shocked a little bit by how it's portrayed. And so also make sure you're getting your information from a good source. A lot of the information I see on social media from influencers and others is just shockingly incorrect. And so do your research and make sure you understand what you're getting to. Find someone like you and ask them if it's worth it.
I think we just went full circle with that because we began with misinformation and disinformation, and then we're rounding up with it.
Yeah.
Well, all the best with MPOWER, and hopefully it will make a positive difference for many students.
Oh, we hope so. Thank you.
Claire Almand, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, the decision to study abroad is one of the most significant financial and personal investments a family can make. As we've explored today, navigating that path requires looking past the promises and focusing on the hard facts like debt, documentation, and the long-term reality as well. We hope today's conversation helps you move forward with caution and clarity. Thank you for watching NTV World Insight. Until next time.